That is insane. And I'm getting the punch back. Transients are back. This is completely nuts. Ozone 12 is finally here, and these new features can actually change the game of mastering. So in this video, we're going to take a look at those new features and also how you can work with them. So let's jump right in. Let's start with the first new feature we have inside Ozone 12, and this one is the Custom Mastering Assistant. From the Assistant window, you will now see Auto Master, which is the classic one, and Custom, which is going to give you way more control on how you want Ozone to analyze your mix and recommend a mastering chain. On the left side, we have a bunch of targets based on the music genre. And this song that I'm going to work on today is a rock song. So I can select the classic rock. There's several rock targets like indie rock, for example, but let's just stick to the rock target. Now, nothing stops me on using another genre as a target. For example, I can use a pop target for this song, and I think that's going to work also. It actually can give me some surprising good results. But for now, what I'm going to do is to stick with the rock target. Now, in the center, we have the processing section, which is going to allow you to bypass some processing that you don't want Ozone to use. So for example, on my end, I'm going to bypass the master rebalance, and I'm going to explain to you why later in this video. It's in relation with another new feature that is quite nice. All right. The rest I'm going to keep as is, and I'm going to check later on what I want to keep. And then there's the analysis time. I'm going to keep that up to 8 seconds. It can go up to 60 if you want to, but you know what? I don't think you need more than that. 8 seconds is plenty. As long as you analyze the loudest part of your mix, you're going to be good to go. Let's do it. All right, so we are done. Let's go into the detailed view. And the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on Gain Match because I want to give you a fair comparison while bypassing the plugin. So this way it's going to be leveled match. All right. So this is the mastering chain that Ozone recommends for this mix. An EQ, impact, which is a multi-band compressor, an imager, clarity, and so on. So let's just do it before and after, and we'll see how that sounds like. So right off the bat, I think it sounds good. It's a good starting point. And that's the cool thing about the Mastering Assistant. It's a good way to start a master, get the recommendation of Ozone, see how that goes, and just work from there. From this point, I change and bypass the stuff I don't like, and I go from there. For example, the limiter, the maximizer right here, I'm going to bypass it, and we'll come back to this one later because there's also something new that is pretty nice on this one. And the imager, I'm going to bypass the imager completely because it kind of narrows the image a bit. And this is a rock song with pan guitars. I like the way it already sounds like, and I don't want to mess around with the stereo image. Impact, multiband compressor, I'm going to bypass it for now. We'll come back to it later. And I just tweak the EQ up to my taste. By the way, since we're talking about mastering, if you ever felt that mastering is a confusing and complicated process, I actually put together a full course that breaks it down step by step. It's designed for home studio musicians and producers like yourself who wants to start mastering their own music and get pro results. And since you're watching this video, I have a special coupon code hidden in the video. So you're gonna have to keep watching, keep your eyes open, and at some point, this special discount code will show up. All right, let's get back to the video. In Ozone 12, we have 3 new modules, and one of my favorite is the bass control. I'm telling you, this one is quite nice to work with. Now, low end can be a challenge for a lot of people when mixing and also when mastering. And this module is going to help to get a tight, clear, powerful low end. So let's look at it. First, if we look at the center, we have the oscilloscope, which is going to give us a visual representation of the low end. We have the cutoff frequency on the top. So right now I'm working on everything below 120 Hertz, but you can tweak that around to your taste. I'm going to leave it this way. We have balance control right on the left. This basically gives you how loud your low end is. So it's essentially the crest factor of your low end. Right now, I can see that my low end is on the light side according to the meter. But again, I always use my ears. But let's try this out to give you an idea on how it sounds like if I boost that up. Let's overdo it. That's cool. Okay, I'm just gonna balance that to my taste. So I think that's gonna work well. So what is the definition of a good low end? In my book, it's all about a clear punchy kick and a nice powerful bass sustain. And the next two controls we have here are gonna help. First, punch, which will show you how compressed or dynamic your low end is. So I can see that my low end is quite dynamic. And I kind of like that in a way because it gives me a very nice punchy kick drum. But let me rebalance that a bit. So as you can hear, the lower I bring the punch knob, the less punch I get out of the kick. I want to keep it punchy a bit, you know. So the meter, like the 2 meters, are good guidelines, but the final decisions are made using my ears. And my taste, of course. Okay, next we have the sustain power, and this one is so nice. This is going to focus on the bass sustain of the low end. Let me show you. I'm going to get back to our rock song here, and I'm going to first bring the threshold down. And I'm going to add some upward compression because this is basically what it's going to do. And that will add more sustain to the bass. And you can see it right here on that level meter. If I overdo it, just pay attention to the sustain of the bass actually. So I don't need a lot on this mix. I'm just going to leave it at this level. I think that's going to be good. So this is going to help a lot, especially if you have like a low end, like a bass especially, that doesn't have a lot of sustain. You can actually fill that up and that will add a bit more power on your whole master. Then we have peak control, which is basically a limiter. So I'm going to bring the threshold down and now we have those 2 full lines, which is going to be the threshold point. And I'm going to have the gain reduction meter right on the side here. And my goal here is just to barely touch it. Just to have a bit of control over the low end level. Now on those 2 controls, sustain and peak, we have the dirty and clean knob. Okay. On the sustain power side, if we bring it to dirty, that will create harmonics. Okay, through the processing, which can be a good thing if you want to add a bit more definition to your bass, basically. Let's listen to the delta. I'm gonna add a bit more so you can hear it. That is dirty. Let's go to clean. So you can easily hear the harmonic saturation that is added. And the same goes with the peak control. If you bring it straight to dirty, now you're going to get basically a hard clipper, okay, which will generate harmonics. Opposed to clean, which is more limiting than clipping. All right, I'm just going to add a bit more sustain here, and let's bypass bass control. Nice. So bass control is definitely a great addition to Ozone 12. Okay, the next module is stem EQ. Now this one is quite special. This honestly, man, we're going somewhere else with mastering, you know, with stem EQ. So this introduces stem mastering at this point in a more efficient way than what we have on Ozone 11. Now we still have access to these stems on top, but stem EQ is going to give you way more flexibility when it comes to EQing each stems of instrument separately. So right away I have access to the vocals, the bass, the drums, and other instruments. So for example, if I take my vocal, then add a bit more mid-range and just slightly put it louder. I don't need to do much to work efficiently. That's awesome. My bass, a bit more mid also, just to add a bit more clarity to the bass. And a slight cut here. Drums. I want to get that snare sound a bit more defined. There you go. Bit of high mids there. And other, nothing to do here. Mainly guitars. Pretty good. Awesome. So it gives you control on the EQ of those stems and also the volume separately, which is a great module. So this brings mastering to a whole new level. This is so practical. The amount of time when I'm mastering a song that I just want to go back in the mix, where I can if I actually mix the song that I'm mastering, but in a case where I'm mixing for a client, it makes things a bit complicated. And sometimes I just need to do like tiny adjustments. So by using stem EQ, it just gives me a bit more control on the songs I'm mastering, which is great. Now, the next new feature we have inside Ozone 12 is the Unlimiter Module. Now, this one is awesome and very, very well done. It's basically if I was applying the undo button on an overcompressed or overlimited signal. And this is basically what it does. So it's going to bring back the transient and revive an overcompressed limited signal in a very nice way. And it's pretty transparent. Now, to give you a good example on how this sounds like, instead of using it in a mastering session, I'm going to use it straight on a drum mix, okay? Which is going to be the best way to hear the effect of Unlimiter. So I'm using the plugin version of Unlimiter straight on a drum bus. And this drum bus is overcompressed. I did that on purpose for this video. A lot of compression here. So with Unlimiter, I'm just going to click on Learn Threshold, or we can adjust the threshold to your taste manually. And let the fun begin. Listen to that. That is insane. Overcompressed. And I'm getting the punch back. Transients are back. This is completely nuts. Unbelievable. So yeah, this is a great tool, can be very useful in a mastering session. Again, it's pretty subtle, but the way it sounds is so transparent. Now, I did overcompress a lot the drum mix for the purpose of this video, but it shows you how powerful this module is. Again, it's not going to bring the signal to its original state without compression, but at least you're going to get back some of the dynamics out of a overcompressed recording. Now, I never recommend to apply limiting on the mix bus when bouncing for mastering. But in the case where you're stuck with a song to master that already has limiting on the mix side, Unlimiter can actually be a lifesaver. Now, the next new feature we have inside Ozone 12 is the new IRC5 maximizer mode. Okay, this has to do with limiting. And this one is actually very nice because it's going to allow you to push your masters even louder if this is something you want to, and keep everything clean and punchy. So basically without the trade-offs on oversaturation and destroying the signal as you increase the loudness level. Of course, there's always a limit, but so far, this is one of the best limiter I've worked with, honestly, to get loudness levels without the use of several plugins. So let me show you how that one works. So for example, I'm pushing this song up to -6 LUFS. So I'm getting lots of limiting. You can actually hear it. You hear like the side effects with some saturation, pumping, all that stuff. Okay, let's try the new IRC5. So. That's impressive. Can actually push it harder if I want to. I'm actually at around -5 LUFS right now, and it still sounds pretty decent. So this will be a bit too loud to my taste, but at -6, -7 LUFS, it sounds amazing, honestly. Usually when I want to get a master as loud, I'm going to use more than one limiter and sometimes even a clipper, okay? But in this case, I only used the Maximizer IRS5 mode. It actually sounds clean and punchy, which is perfect. So if loud master is your thing, you're gonna love this one. Now, since we're talking about loudness, you need to watch this video if you want to avoid making this loudness LUFS mistake. Until next time, take care, my friend, and see you.